I've shown you the history and the division. I shared the conversation that started it all, the map that made the pattern obvious, the infrastructure that enforces separation. Now, let me show you why I make the photographs the way I do and what BTNTRX Volume 1 ultimately became. When you look through this book, you'll notice something. There are no people in the images. That's intentional. This project isn't about people, it's about places. It's about how infrastructure influences and shapes the spaces we move through every day, often unnoticed. The images I made for the book were taken in all kinds of conditions. Dusk or dawn, rain or shine. I wasn't really particular about that aspect of these compositions, but what I was worried about, what I did focus on, was the time of day or the day of the week. So holidays, Sundays, early morning, times when the world was quieter, when I could focus on the bones of these spaces. I want viewers to slow down, to see what they usually drive past, to recognize that these overlooked corners, they're not just backgrounds, they are evidence. Evidence of decisions made a century ago that still impact our daily lives. The minimal human presence isn't about erasing people, it's about letting the infrastructure tell its own story. These tracks, fences, overpasses, they don't need people in the frame to reveal what they do. BTNTRX Volume 1 is 37 photos of railroad corridor. It starts in Scottsdale and follows the tracks west towards Krog Street Tunnel. Division is that central story, but every image doesn't tell that exact same story. This is Pullman Yard in Kirkwood. In 2022, the Pullman Company converted an old manufacturing plant here into a repair station for rail cars. It became one of the largest employers of Black men in the country. But Kirkwood and all the neighborhoods surrounding it were all white suburbs at the time. So, like a lot of industry in America, the railroad brought economic opportunity within a system of segregation. Or this, Krog Street Tunnel. Built in 1912, it runs under Holsey Yard, connecting Cabbagetown and Inman Park. In the 1990s, after anti-graffiti crackdowns in other parts of the city, artists turned this tunnel into a street art haven. It's become a bit of a rotating gallery, a landmark ever since. Meanwhile, the neighborhoods around it have been transformed through gentrification. What the tracks divide continuously changes. Volume 1 centers on division, but it hints at more complex stories. Migration, transformation, commerce. Volume 1.5 will explore these stories in more depth across multiple corridors. This was my first attempt at letting a place tell its story through careful observation and image sequencing. Not journalism, not quite activism, just photography that asks you to look at what's there. When I published this book in 2021, I was barely a year into taking photography seriously. I was still figuring out what I wanted to say and how to say it. The technical skills were still being developed. My understanding of book design was still a little basic, and the historical research was surface level based on what I know now. But here's what I feel I got right. I chose to look at places that often get overlooked by other people. These neighborhoods along the railroad are changing, gentrifying, being redeveloped, which means these images are historical documents. Not because I planned it that way in 2021, but because Atlanta keeps changing and these images hold still. That's what documentary photography does. It preserves a moment, and sometimes that moment becomes more important as time passes. 5 years later, I'm about to release BTNTRX Volume 1.5. Expanded geography, a refined vision, deeper historical references, and better technical execution. Tomorrow, I'll share the images that speak to the broader, more complex story that goes beyond division. Thanks for walking these tracks with me.